Hi kids, welcome back to my channel. This is a clear and a detailed explanation of the poem A Photograph by Shirley Toulson. Let's begin. Shirley Toulson was an English poet and a writer. Her poetries talked about topics like family, relationship, and the passage of time. A Photograph is one of her most remembered poems. It is loved for the depth and the simplicity of language used. Let's watch this video first. So, in this video, you notice there were three characters. One is this girl in the middle, and here are her two cousins on each of her side. Okay, so the activity which they are doing is called paddling. That is walking near the beach with water flowing near the feet, water washing the feet of the people. That activity is called paddling. So the poet has such a picture, a photograph in her room. In her house, she has this photograph wherein a girl of about 12 is visible standing in the middle, and on both her sides, her two cousins can be seen. Okay, let's start the poem. So it says, the cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling. So when the poet says the cardboard here means the photograph. So the photograph which the poet has in her house, she says that the cardboard shows, that means that photograph shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands, and she, the big girl, some 12 years or so. So the poet describes that three girls went to paddling. Okay, now the girl in the middle, who is of about the age of 12, some 12 years of so. So this is the age of her mother when she got clicked in this photograph. So she says the big girl in the middle was my mother. She was about 12 years of age, and she went to paddling with her two girl cousins. Now, each one holding one of my mother's hands. That means if in the middle this is her mother, that means these two are her cousins. Okay, and both of them were holding the poetess mother's hands on each side. Understood? Now it says, all three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera. Now the one to click this picture was their uncle. Okay, who clicked this picture? Their uncle clicked this picture, and all of them stood still. Still means without any movement. Okay, obviously now because a picture was to be clicked, so all of them stood there without any movement and smiled through their hair. That means because obviously it was a beachy area, there must be wind flowing, right? So their hair were messy, their hair were partly covering their face, but they cheerfully smiled through their hair, okay, at the uncle who was holding the camera to click their picture. Now the poet describes a sweet face. Whose is the sweet face? This sweet face that she is talking about is of her mother. A sweet face, my mother's. That was before I was born. She says that when this picture was clicked, I was not born. It was quite many years ago when this picture was clicked. And the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. Now she says that, see, everything has changed in these years. Okay, her mother, now that she's seeing her mother's picture with her two cousins, at the current time, in the current moment, her mother is no longer alive. Okay, her mother has already passed away. So she says that everything has moved on, everything has changed. But the sea, which you can see in the background, the sea seems to have changed less. That means nature is constant, but human life changes with time. Right? So she says that in the picture, the sea is visible in the background. So everything has changed. But till the current time, if there's something that has changed very less, that is sea. Some construction must have been done around it. Some things might have changed around it, but not the sea. So it says the sea which appears to have changed less. Why? Because nature is constant. Nature does not bring changes in itself until humans intervene. But human life keeps on changing. Okay, so she says that the sea hasn't changed much in all these years. And in this picture, it is visible that the sea waves can be seen washing the feet of these three girls. Okay, now it mentions terribly transient feet. Transient means something which is temporary. Okay, the footprints which the girls must have left on the sand, they are extremely temporary. Why? Because the waves keep on coming and wash away the footprints. So it is mentioned that the footprints in the sand are terribly transient. That means they are extremely short lived. They are for a very short interval. Okay, and they are being continuously washed away by the waves. Okay, let's move on to the next paragraph. It says some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. Now the poet is remembering the time when her mother used to be alive. When her mother was alive, she used to see this picture of her childhood with her two cousins when she went paddling. Okay, so her mother used to see this picture after 20-30 years from when it was clicked. She would laugh seeing this picture because this was such a happy memory for her when she went to paddling with her two girl cousins. That was a very pleasant moment for her to remember. She loved that time. So she would remember, she would recall that beautiful memory of hers, and she would laugh at the snapshot, as in the photograph. She would laugh at it. She would laugh remembering her memories of childhood, the fun time that she spent, her sea holiday. She would remember it and she would be happy about it. And she would tell the details of that photograph to her daughter, the poet. She would say, "See, Betty and Dolly," she would say. That means the name of her two cousins. Her mother in this picture can be seen with her two cousins. So, what are the name of these two cousins? She says one of them is Betty and the other one is Dolly. Okay, so her mother introduced her two cousins who were there in the picture to the poet, saying that see, she is Betty, and see, she is Dolly. Okay, and look how they dressed us for the beach. And she would also say to her daughter that see, when we went paddling, when this photo was clicked, these are my two cousins Betty and Dolly, and see how our family members, how our parents have dressed us for the beach. She would also point at the dresses and say that see how our parents made us wear these dresses to the beach. So she would talk about it. She would be happy seeing those pictures of her sea holiday. Now she says the sea holiday was her past. Whose past? What is her referring to? Her is referring to the poet's mother. Okay. So the poet's mother is already dead. She is no longer alive. So the poet says that the sea holiday, which is visible in this photograph, was her mother's past. Even when she was alive, when she used to take a look at this picture, even then, this sea holiday was her past. It was something from her childhood. So, this was something which was there in her memory. So, it says that this sea holiday, which was visible in this photograph, this was her mother's past. She had lived this memory long years back. Now, she says, mine is her laughter. Now, mine is referring to the poet, okay, and her is referring to her mother. She says that both of us, my mother and me, both of us have our own past. Okay, she says that my mother's past was the sea holiday, which used to make her feel happy about it. And my past is my mother's laughter. How happy she used to be seeing this photograph. That is my past. That memory is my past. Because my mother is no longer alive. But I remember seeing her being happy whenever she used to see this photograph. I remember how happy she used to be seeing this photograph and how she would remember the details and tell me about those details. So, that memory of her mother is the poet's past. Okay, now it says both rhyme with the labored ease of loss. Now see, oxymoron is something you must have heard about. Here oxymoron is used. Okay, I'll tell you how. So it says labored ease of loss. Labored, when we say labored, it means something for which you have struggled a lot. Okay, labored means struggled. Ease is to make something, to simplify something. And loss. Okay, Rai shows some kind of disappointment. Okay, so it says that both me and my mother had suffered our own losses. Okay, now the poet's mother, when we talk about her loss, it was the loss of her memory, the childhood, the happy childhood memory which she had. Obviously, because it was her childhood memory, she had lost that memory now. She can't live that moment again. So that is her loss. And what is the poet's loss? The poet's loss is losing the memories of her mother because she is no longer alive. Right? So she can only remember her. And because her mother is no longer there with her. So she says both me and my mother suffered our own losses. And it was not easy. So both of us struggled to simplify that loss, to learn to live with that loss, to accept that loss. Okay, so she says that both of us, both me, that is the poet, and her mother, okay, they learned, they were disappointed, obviously, they were sad about their loss, what they had lost, the time they had spent, they were remembering the moments of past, but it was hard to for them to live with those things. So she says that both of us have labored, that means both of us have struggled to deal with this loss easily, to make this thing accept, to accept this over time. So both of us have learned to accept it. Both of us have struggled to understand and deal with the situation. Okay. Now it says that now she's been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived. Okay, now she's saying that now she is referring to the poet's mother. Okay, so it says that the poet's mother is no longer alive. In fact, she has been dead for almost as many years as the girl lived. Matlab, the poet says that for my mother has been dead for almost the same number of years for which I have survived. That means her mother must have died, when she was quite young. So she says that for almost the years I have lived, that is equal to the number of years my mother has been dead. So it is, she lost, that means she lost her mother at a very young age. Okay. And it says, and of this circumstance, there is nothing to say at all. It's silence, silences. Now she says that at this situation, at this present time, when I do not have my mother available with me, when she is no longer with me, now the memories of her haunt me now. Okay, I remember her a lot, but I only have her memories now. So she says that there is nothing to say at all. I don't have any words to say, I don't have anybody to express, anything to express, in fact. So she is in loss of words. She says that I am not able to express how I feel. I don't have anything to say to anybody. And it's silence silences. That means that silence which is there due to the absence of her mother, due to the loss of her mother. That silence has made her even more silent. Okay, if you see this last line, this is very important. It says, it's silence silences. That means its is referring to the loss of a mother. So the silence which is there, the absence of a mother, that void which is there due to the absence of a mother, that silence has made the poet also silent. She has stopped expressing herself to anybody. She doesn't have things to say now because the only person she would want to share it with was her mother. And now that she is no longer alive, that void which is left there, okay, the absence of her mother, that has made her more silent. Okay, so I hope you have understood this poem. Let's move on. Let's check the literary devices. First one is imagery. Imagery, as in the poetess has described the proper visual image of the beach, the cousins, what are they wearing. So, this is an example of imagery. Next is alliteration. In this phrase, like stood, still, smile, silence, silences, repetition of S letter shows it is an example of alliteration. Oxymoron. Oxymoron, we had discussed it previously also. Oxymoron, as in two opposites are used in the same sentence. Labored means with struggle. Ease means simple. If you have achieved something with struggle, how can it be simple? Right? So both of them are opposites. So this is an example of oxymoron. Talking about irony, the photograph shows a joyful moment but it brings sadness. So it is an example of irony. Okay. So I hope you have understood this poem. If you have any doubts, please feel free to reach to me through the comment section. Please drop your questions so I can share the answers. Thank you for staying tuned. And please do like, share, and subscribe if you like the content. Thank you.